You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Talks honest. Hello and welcome to Talks Honest. You are tuned into iLive Radio UK, changing the way you listen to radio. I'm your host, Miss Law, and this is a platform and an opportunity for you to discuss topics never spoken but often thought of. You can connect with us by contacting 0208 638 8503 or www.uk.iliveradio.com.
What if we spoke honestly? 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 What if we spoke honestly?
Today's topic is the Windrush Generation, pre-1960, post-1960. And joining me on today's show is Miss Mode and Miss Brown. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, good evening.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Okay, the Windrush Generation. As some of you may know, back in the 1948, to be quite precise, the 21st of June, 492 West Indians arrived in Tilbury Dock in Essex on the Empire Windrush. There was a debate in the UK as to whether these individuals would actually be able to enter into the UK. So there was apprehension as to, yes, we've travelled thus far, but will there be opportunities and will we actually be able to get into the country? Imagine being those individuals. Some of us have family members who have lived that experience, have travelled that journey, and have told those stories. It's something kind of puts a lump in your throat. You know, when you think our people came to a foreign land looking for a new place, a new home, a new beginning, to start a venture and a journey that they really knew nothing about. Yes, there were adverts in the Caribbean saying that the UK wanted people with certain skills to come to the UK and give them opportunities that they probably never would have been able to have had they not travelled. Now let's just sit and think about that. You're in the Caribbean, in the sunshine. An opportunity arises that's going to take you a million miles away from home, to not knowing what to expect, how you would be received. For me, just talking about it seems quite overwhelming, but having taken that journey as individuals must have been quite mind-blowing.
That key word, mind-blowing, different.
Yeah.
To travel to another country so far away.
Yeah.
I know of people who went to other islands, but they're so nearby.
Yeah.
But to travel for so long on the Empire Windrush.
30 days to be quite precise.
30 days. So that's
30 whole days.
So that's a month. Not knowing like what to expect, because I feel for some, if not all, they saw Britain or Great Britain as this place that was like paved in gold, and it was just, we have the Queen, and you know, it's very patriotic, and like they were like amused by that.
Yeah.
So for some of them just to really make up their mind and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go over there and, you know, whatever work they want to do out there.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
That's right. Yeah.
So I was gonna say, you know, I feel that there was a lot of unexpectancy surrounding what it was going to be like, where you're going to live, you know, are we going to be in a good place, you know, what's our future's going to be like our children, especially the impact of the children was a great thing. Like, I know that a lot of Caribbean families were separated, parents-wise were separated from their children.
Let's just talk about that. You brought up that's a very key and important point you just brought up. Many people left their family, left their children. Now, that in itself, when you just stop and think about your mother, your father leaving you to go onto greener pastures, to have a better life, to be able to provide better for you. In your heart of heart, do you think as individuals you would have been able to do what they did?
I feel that a discussion was happened at that time. As well as it being an impact on the parents, I feel it would be a more of an impact on the child or the children, because they're going away, and it's not like they're gonna go away and come back the same day. They've gone because they're going to another country to, as you said, to provide a better life for them. Well, it depends on the situation, because I feel when we look at it now, you know, obviously you would prefer to be back home than
most definitely.
But when you're going more or less blindsided, you just feel that's your best opportunity right now to go over to another country.
Like when I think about the whole journey, obviously they came just to be able to better themselves and give themselves opportunities that weren't readily available within their islands. Their expectations is a different story. What they could have expected, what they may have thought what it may have been, or how it could be. That would be an interesting conversation with each one of those people.
Yeah, because I think a lot of them might have been under the assumption that it was easy. It was easy grasp when they came here. The fortune and the job and everything would have been easy just to get hold of straight away. However, you know,
that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
I mean, even, you know, like obviously finding somewhere to live. I mean, like, you think about ourselves going to a foreign place, we're trying to find a hotel or an apartment that we've booked. They didn't have that. They didn't have those things available to them that's so readily available to us. So it's like it's just like someone just dropped you somewhere and said, okay, go and fend for yourself.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, but I still feel that stories were told to them.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know, this place was great. This is like the place you should be, you know, if you want to succeed and probably make good money, this is the place you need to be. So all of those people on the Empire Windrush more or less jumped at the chance and took that risk.
Yeah.
I think they all felt it would be more beneficial for them to actually travel for 30 days, separate from their families and loved ones, and like we said, establish a foundation, a better start for their family, their children, their children's children. But I do feel that the children were really impacted. Like going back to what we said before, Miss Mode, I know that a lot of children didn't get to come over straight away with their parents, and had to then live with other family members around the Caribbean. Not guaranteed that you're going to be staying in that same place for that same time. And for the younger children, how do you explain? I know you said there was discussion, but for a young child, they're not going to understand that, okay, my parents are going to go over to somewhere which they've never most will be heard of to start up something for us. They're not seeing it as that. That's they might see it as abandonment, neglect. Correct. They don't love us anymore, etc. And from stories that I've heard from family members and stuff, their journey was much that, like, there was no understanding that their mother left them to settle and was definitely going to come back to get them. They didn't have no guarantee of that. They were just told that. And I think even today, some young family members are still separated from their parents today because their parents are still coming here with that dream kind of mentality, thinking that when they come here that it's going to be easy for them to get a job, get somewhere to live, etc. It's just not that simple.
So do you feel that once these individuals came, these immigrants came to the UK, do you feel that they could have been misguided along the way with regards to, you know, what would be their options and things like that? Because for me, a lot of people came here with skills to do a job. They went into jobs, yes. They didn't have that homely unit, but they were expected to get used to their environment and how things were. Now, things were very different from what they were in the Caribbean. So how was that transition for them? Because you're in the sunshine. You've come to a country that's cold, misty, grey. You know, most people's descriptions of the UK were exactly that.
I think a lot of them, most of them even got sick before they even touched in the docks. I had to witness a lot of deaths, maybe close relatives dying who have actually also taken that journey and just couldn't deal with the sudden climate change or impact the journey actually had.
I feel they didn't have any idea of what the weather in that country is like, because you're from the Caribbean. All you know is sunshine, and Caribbean people as a whole are very friendly. They're willing to help one another if someone's in problems or trouble or situations, right? I feel somehow that they had like a unit when they were on that ship. Yeah. That
they were one.
So knowing that they're all, wherever they're from, knowing that they're going to a foreign country, that they stick together. Yeah, they were a real community though. When you think about how they've come here, obviously they would have been aware that it may have been cold because they came suited and booted. So they had their heavy coats. However, how cold it was going to be is a different story. I mean, those of you who go to the Caribbean, it's pretty clear that once you've been there for a duration of time, you come here, you feel like you're going to die, literally, because it's that cold, because your body's not climatized to that. Yeah, it's not accustomed,
You know, and then thinking about that, it's like, okay, how did they cope? You know, like being from a foreign country that's hot, to this place that's so cold. Like you could have your coat on and you're still cold.
And mind you, some of them didn't have coats. So they came suited and booted, but they didn't have no overcoat.
Yeah.
So you're stepping off a ship, and because you're on the docks, it's even more colder.
It's colder, yes.
Right? So you've just come off and you're like, you're trying to keep yourself warm, and it's thinking like, I know there must have been questions like, what
am I doing? What am I doing here?
Why did I come over here?
Have I made the wrong decision?
30 days on a ship, and this is it.
But that in itself, like 30 days on a ship.
That's a very long time. Like, I've not even been on a cruise. Just saying, like, and the cruises are not even sometimes 30 days.
They're like 14s, 21s, 28s.
Yeah. So I dream to imagine what it was like for them.
It must have been so frightening.
The unknown was just right there in front of them, like.
And for them, it was possibly like, we have to go and see. We have to do this. There may be an opportunity there for us that we will never get again. So they've taken that plunge, and they've taken that opportunity, and they've literally just run with it.
Yeah.
The Windrush Generation. There's been a lot of stuff happening in media with regards to the Windrush Generation and their right to be in the UK. I want to put this out there. What do you feel about that whole situation? How those people who travelled 1,000,000 miles to come to a country, to rebuild a country.
And can I also say they were invited? That's the key word.
I was going to go there. Yes. The key thing is the invitation was given to them, to which they accepted. However, there was a debate going on prior to them why they were sailing. So even then, they still had doubt as to whether they would be able to actually enter into the UK, Great Britain, England. Just think about that. You've travelled to the unknown, not knowing what to expect other than cold. It's a possibility you may not even enter into that country. And you may need to sail all the way back. Possibly. Another 30 days. What's to guarantee that boat is seaworthy? 30 days at sea.
That's a lot.
Now we can think differently because we know about past times before the islands, the Africas, slavery and stuff like that. So you think about that in your mind, being transported as slaves. And I'm going to go there because I'm just trying to show the journey. You've been transported as slaves. You've lost lives. The bottom of the sea can tell so many stories. Then an opportunity arises. You're invited to come to the UK. And you have to travel 30 days to get to a destination, which could be hit or miss for you. That's mind blowing. To leave your comfort to come to discomfort.
See, I was going to just say, thinking about it like today and having to make that choice, I think a lot of people would question whether it would be worth making the actual choice. Like, I don't know as a parent whether I want to leave my son
exactly
to come and seek an opportunity that I'm not sure is guaranteed, when I could be where I am in my island and possibly find a possible job or something that might guarantee that same kind of thing, but it just might take longer. So I might not make that choice to travel now. If you're talking about it, if something like this was to happen now, where you had to travel to somewhere else, would I make that decision? Would I make that choice? Could I comfortably make that choice? Yeah. You know, that's the question. Like, I don't know.
Because it really does make you think. You know, we haven't been subjected to that because we're the younger generations. However, when you really just, like, we're sitting here right now and it's like, wow, that's a big decision to make. Could I make that decision, honestly? It's hard for me to say. It really is hard for me to say.
Yeah, obviously it's different times.
Yeah.
For that generation, that Windrush generation, I know they were mentally traumatized.
Definitely.
Because no matter what little they had back home, I feel for some of them now, looking back, they wouldn't have traded it. They would have stayed where they were.
Yeah.
You know, going back to what I said, Caribbean people as a whole, we're loving.
Yeah.
Right? We're unified. We're a community. Don't matter what island you are from. So for them touching into a new country now, I am guaranteed they made a pack. So whether you go to Birmingham or you stayed in London, Nottingham, Bristol, somehow they were going to stay in contact somehow, whether it's writing a letter or something. But they had a rude awakening when they got here.
Most definitely. And to add insult to it, the fact that they were told that they would get free citizenship, and then that be plucked away from some of those individuals, which is more current, is another thing that you really have to sit down and think about. Like, you dangle a carrot, we bite, then you take that away from us. Why? We came here, we built your country back up after a war. We were never respected, never accepted. Our best was never good enough. But we carried on. And we carried on.
But the saddest thing about that is also that they didn't just try to send home the generations that came around the Windrush. They are trying to send home people that are British born.
Exactly.
You know, so descendants from generations that have come. Like, how can you come to the conclusion that you offered people free citizenship and their extended family, and then you just pull that rug from underneath them? You uproot them. They contributed to this country for years, decades.
Right. So let's go back. So once they were here, when they thought they could just easily get a home, it was very hard for them to get a home for their family.
Yeah, it was.
The racism, the prejudice that they endured. The stories that my mum and my gran and my aunt told me, like, that generation alone needs to be put on a pedestal.
Exactly.
Because what they done for this country.
And for the generations to follow.
And for the generation like myself, and after me, and after them.
Yes.
They need to have a museum alone just for them.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for them,
there would be no Britain. There would be no England. There wouldn't be no United Kingdom. Call it which you please.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel that they've been so disrespected you know, to give them a day, Windrush Generation Day, like, what is that?
An insult.
It is. You know, we haven't really discussed it or really had a conversation on a level, but it's pretty heart-wrenching.
It is. It really is, because the stories that my mum told me, because she came here in the early 60s, right? And what they had to deal with the teddy boys. Yeah. That you, whether you're a male or a female, you could not go out on your own. Yeah. You had to be
escorted
with someone.
Yeah. My mum told me stories,
right? And I think those stories need to be told so the younger generation can understand why you're here.
Yeah, the road wasn't paved with gold. It was hard.
It was not easy at all. It wasn't.
It's quite sad. Makes you feel a little bit sad.
It makes me angry. I ain't gonna lie, it makes me angry, because it's like, when my mum told me them stories, it's like I had to say, you know what? I really rate you so much, because you had to fight every day. The only maybe type of peace you may have is when you're at home with the little family that you had, or the friends that you made through that Windrush generation. But the fact that the time you got to get up and whatever work you was able to get and go to, you knew you're going to face that racism once you open that door and go on the road to go to work.
Yeah. And the thing is, when they came with skills. They didn't come with nothing. They were skilled individuals.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for people of the UK was that, who are these people coming here? They're taking our jobs. We hear the stories today. The same stories that have been had are being repeated now. It's no longer the West Indians that took their jobs. It's now other immigrants that are now taking the job. It's just a repeat in history. Just a different
cycle repeat,
different group of immigrants that have been put through this roller coaster, so to speak. It's a little bit heart-wrenching. I'm not going to lie. I'm sitting here and I'm just like a little bit gobsmacked.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost for words a bit. Like, just thinking about and knowing that they were subjected to that, but then still today, there's still people are still subjected to the same kind of mannerisms and mindsets. Like, when does it change? You know?
Yeah, it's deep, but I feel us as the generation, we do need to talk about this more, because you can't just sweep it under the rug and just let it be forgotten. People need to know the struggles. You know, the thing is, what we bought over here, we've bought our culture, we've bought our music, we bought our food, our fashion, right? Just to say, like, we more or less set the trend.
Definitely.
Right?
But you have to bear in mind that when the West Indians came here, there was nothing here. The trending, like you said, the fashion, you know, the culture, the food. We came here and tried to build what we had in the Caribbean to a degree here, to give us that homely feeling. You know, we were a community. We lived together. We shared a house together. You know, you had your parties together. We didn't have much, but what little we had,
they took pride in it.
They took pride.
Yeah.
They believed in each other. They trusted each other.
And they were very proud people.
Yes.
Right? Very proud people. and they never forgot their traditions. Yeah, they might have tried to adapt because they're in a different country.
I think they were forced to adapt though, because it's either you adapt or you know where to go, basically. That's how I feel. It's like they had to conform to certain things, and I think that's why that generation are a little bit more humble than the generations coming up after them.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story what I got from my mum, being as she's part of that generation. When it came to work, my mum was a highly skilled typist, but she was subjected to work in a factory. I'm not disrespecting it, but the fact that generation had skills, but they were put into the wrong job because of the colour of their skin, right? And that's what you resort them to because of your racism.
That's all they're worthy of, they're saying.
Yeah, they wanted them to kind of... They were here for a purpose, and the purpose wasn't actually for the individuals that they'd actually brought over. The purpose was for their own gain.
Yeah. Another form of slavery.
Yeah. Just...
get them in their droves to get on a ship to come to the so-called land of opportunity. Make it hard for them to find accommodation. Not allow them to live up to their expectations, because you see them as less. When you put all these things in your head, it's really sad.
I just, when my dad has told me stories, obviously he didn't come over at the time of the Windrush, it would have been my grandparents. However, like I was saying before, he was affected as a child. So himself and his older brother, I think they ended up staying in the Caribbean, and the younger ones were then actually sent over with my grandparents. And then on top of that, my dad and his brother were then separated again, because the family member that was asked to look after them couldn't actually afford to look after both of them. So then, yet again, not only was my dad wrenched away from his mother and didn't have no understanding, he was then separated from the only person that he knew, which was his brother, to then go and live with, an aunt and an uncle. To what end? To know, like, who's going to look after me? Who's going to care for me? Like, my parents don't love me. And so for my dad, even though he came over here and he was highly skilled because he was a carpenter, the journey that he had to live before getting to that point was literally moving from home to home, from home to home. Today's in our society, that's called the system, going from home to home, being in care from home to home. So you could just imagine the long-term impact it's had mentally upon him as an individual. And I think that's why with Caribbean or black families, they have such high expectations for their children, because they don't want them to actually suffer in the way that they had to suffer to get to that certain point of you're still not even secure, because look what's happened. They still manage to somehow give us something but then take it back. Like you said, give us somewhere to come, make us believe that this is our home, But as a matter of fact, they didn't actually really want us here. They only want us here for their purpose.
Yeah, for their benefit, for the services that we could offer.
Yeah.
And even when you came with those services that you had and that skill, they still wanted to deprive because you're still not worthy of having those higher roles.
Exactly.
The Windrush Generation. It's quite troubling. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm really deep in thought because we have conversations on a level that's not as deep as this. And we all know someone who's been affected by this. And I say affected because in one way or another, their heart has been broken. They've been deceived. And I can say deceived because what they expected, what they were told, and what they received, and what they gained wasn't what they got, what they should have got.
And do you think that, you know, like, even today, like, some people are still feeding them that same, oh, when you come here, it's so great, because people still come here from the Caribbean and still think it's going to be that great. You know, like, yes, they're going to get a job. I'm like, is it because people still portray like what? Okay, so for some Caribbeans, they portray like they live rich, they got this good house, you know, but they forget to tell people, actually, I had to work hard to get to that. So people then come over with the expectation that they're going to just get all these things just by coming here.
I think once before you mentioned pride. We're a very proud race. So we tend to blur or paint a slightly different picture to make our situations look better. And I think that's just our coping mechanism. And I say that because you go for an interview, you don't get the job. You know why you didn't get the job. You had what it took to get the job, but you know, in heart of heart, that job was yours.
Yeah, I've experienced that as a child, actually.
Many a time I've experienced that. And it makes you begin to have no self-worth. And some of us are that way inclined. And then some of us are a bit stronger and feel, well, no, I didn't get this one. I'm going to get or I'm going to keep on trying until I get to where I want to get to. Not everyone has that drive. Not everyone has that passion and that strength to actually continue.
But I think having witnessed or heard of or been told these tales about our forefathers and mothers going through this journey, they now have become great role models.
Yes,
you know,
most definitely
for us. You know, to say, you know, keep striving, keep being persistent, because at some point you will get to that place. However, we need to be open to the fact that it's not smooth sailing. You have to put the work in.
I think it's time that we are a little bit more honest, because as you said, we still have people coming from the Caribbean thinking Great Britain is so great. You know, you have to prove everything. We're in 2020 and we're going through the same thing that we were going through back in the 60s, back in the 50s. The only difference is they don't have any physical signs telling you that you can't go there, you can't do this, you can't do that. But it's still here. The racism is still here. A lot of those people who came from the Windrush generation, the qualifications that they came here with, they should be in places far beyond where they were. And like you said with your mum, she was qualified, overqualified possibly. But you know what she was? She was a threat. She was a woman of colour with too much knowledge, too much experience, and didn't deserve that role because she wasn't in a place that she was supposed to belong.
Yeah.
So she would never get that recognition.
That's right.
And she would probably have to be on her deathbed before she gets that recognition. How much longer does this go on? You know, we sit here, we're reminiscing about 1948. We're now in 2020. We're having this discussion. It's still impacting us as it did, or how it would have for those individuals back in that time. How can it be that we are still here? Yes, we've progressed, but have we really progressed?
Not where we should be now.
And by whose expectation?
Exactly. Exactly that.
Very true.
Kind of like, whose is it?
Yeah, it's not ours.
You know, have I not achieved because of your expectation or your expectation? I think we need to set goals that we can reach, in a sense of, if you want, so they're achievable, if you get what I mean. So we're going to have expectations, but not set them too far from where we can reach so that we can build on it.
I would say to that, it's fine to build, it's fine to have expectations, but you need to be in control. Because your expectations are not necessarily going to be received or taken into consideration because you're not accepted. Yes, we can say, oh yeah, things have changed.
But not so much.
Exactly that, but not so much. So yes, change has come, but we as a people are no better off than we were. We are still in a system that controls and dictates how we do, when we do, and where we do. Is that progress in your eyes? Possibly not. It's as good as us standing still. What has happened? The times have changed around us. Like everything is revolving around us, but we're standing still. And the times, we're just with the times. And we conform to the times that we're in. So is it progress? Is it regress? Or is it that we've stood still? We've become acceptant of the things that we've been subjected to. We've accepted them to a degree that it's okay to treat us the way you've treated us. It's acceptable that you won't give us the jobs that we deserve and that we are qualified and overqualified to do. Is it okay that you still don't accept us as our colour, for our colour?
Or just as a human being.
Human being. Now that's a good one. Do they see us as human beings? That's the other question. We've been referred to so many other things but human beings. Our best is never good enough. So how can we expect change? How can we see change? What do we need to do to make that change? You know, it may feel like we're digressing, but this is where it started. And it started beyond this. This is just a chapter in a book.
Yeah.
Of a very big book. But this is heart-wrenching, just all the same. And this is modern times. This is here, the now. We're not talking about 80 years ago. We're talking about now. still subjected to it.
Can I just also try and be on a positive note that the contributions that they have given to this country, I feel it needs to be recognised more. I feel us as a people, we need to recognise them more and give them that plaque, whether it's physical or just basically saying, you know what, thank you, because we would not be here because of them.
Is that enough? Whole heart, hand on your heart.
I would say it's a start, but it has to be something that is continued. You don't wait for a particular month to do it. It should be just all the time.
For me, those individuals that came here should be honoured. They deserve that. They built this country from what it was, which was nothing, to what it is today. Blood, tears. They do deserve something to say. We honour you for what you did, have done, and your children's children's children are still doing today.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very touching subject. It's pretty emotional as well.
It is.
Because now we've had the opportunity to really sit down and get deep. Deep to the point that you probably can picture yourself in that situation, or picture your auntie, your uncle, your mum, your dad having been subjected to that journey. 30 days, not knowing, coming to a cold country, the land of so-called opportunity. Was it? Wasn't it? Is it? Isn't it?
It's something that you really think about, and you know, I'm thankful that I got told the history, because my family lived it. They went through it. They went through the racism, the violence, where they're just total strangers coming to a foreign country to make a better life.
Yeah.
They didn't come there to make no trouble or anything like that. They wanted to just
better themselves,
work, get their home, then bring their children over, their extended family over, so they could all live together, because that is what they're used to.
Family.
They were always about family.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, when they did come over, lived in family members' house. Like, even years later, I remember aunties and uncles coming to live in my house before they got their home.
Yeah.
So it was everybody looked out for each other. Like you said, it was a community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because not all of them got their homes. No. As you said, like, they had to live, and the conditions that they lived in, right? And I'm sure that's going to be for another time.
Yeah.
But I just always remembered hearing the conditions that they were living in, and I'm like, huh?
I mean, like, houses didn't have bathrooms.
Right.
Like, simple things like that. Like, as much as they may have said that we were primitive and we lived in the Caribbean and we showered, right?
Yeah. You had your bath.
You had your bath.
Yeah.
Simple things that are simple weren't simple.
I think when my granddad's house had a toilet outside in the garden.
My granddad as well.
Did you remember that?
Yeah, my
the toilet's outside.
Yeah.
So Great Britain isn't as great as
it seems.
As it was said.
Yeah.
Or was sold. Very interesting. You know, I have to commend those individuals from the Caribbean and other places that have come to the UK, uprooted themselves to make a better life for themselves. It's quite challenging. It's a lot to take yourself away from your comfort zone and go somewhere that's completely foreign. Leave your children behind. Leave your family members behind to seek better opportunities. If there was a final thought for you ladies, what would it be?
I think mine would just be gratefulness. That my families, the generations of my families that went through this survived, and I'm here today to even be able to tell the story.
Yeah, just echoing off of Miss Brown, I salute every single one of them. Thank you for bringing me here, and thank you for telling me the stories so I can pass it down to the next generation or the generation after me, so they can know about that history.
Yes. Most definitely. It's very sad as we sit here and just think of that struggle. Just knowing that they got through it, no matter how hard it was. We have to honour those individuals that made it possible for us to be here right now in an all-black organisation doing what we do because of the struggle that they have been through, that they have sacrificed, that they have continued to persistently try and try and try to better themselves. They brought children into this world. They taught them good morals and standards. They taught us respect. And we owe it to those generations to be the best of whatever we set out to do. To strive to those places that we deserve to be at. Educate yourself. Read. Communicate. Stay a community. Love your brothers and your sisters. Because each and every one of us is affected, has been affected, and will continue to be affected. They hurt one of us, they hurt all of us. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for listening to today's show. Good night and God bless.
What if we spoke honestly? What if we spoke honestly? What if we spoke honestly?